Alright, welcome to the Soldering 101 video. What I'm going to do in this video is go over some best practices and what a typical workflow looks like whenever you are soldering. The first thing you might want to do is turn on your fan, so that way once you start soldering it can take away all of the excess fumes. Then, once you have your soldering iron turned on, you want to clean the tip off. Now, whenever you finish soldering, you always want to leave some solder on the tip. And the reason you want to do that is because, can anyone guess? That's right, rust. You don't want rust to form, because the rust is going to eat away at the actual material, and when there's less material, there's less heat that can get transferred through the material. Pretty simple idea. So whenever you turn it on, there's always should be some old solder on there. So we just want to clean that off. And then we want to use our tip tinner here. And this also works as a cleaner. What this is going to do, it's got flux mixed in and some solder. We're going to coat the tip again with it. This isn't the cleanest flux. This is actually oxidation right here. Rust. It's not ideal, but you know, it'll work for what we're doing. And so I like to turn it on, clean it off, put some tip tinner cleaner on there, clean it off again, give it a few good rakes here, really try to get that gunk off. And I like to give it just another little layer. Now, what you want to do is, whatever the component you're working on, you want to apply some flux. And we'll just get some flux here, put it right on here. You can never put on too much flux. Don't worry about adding too much flux. Super cheap, so no point being stingy with it. What you want to do, heat that up right over the component. And what you can do is you can do a raking motion across pins. And whenever there's flux, it'll actually evenly distribute the solder across the pins. So if we had a lot of solder that was covering and connecting all of these pins, a really easy way to fix it. You can just rake back and forth somewhat quickly, like this, and it would clean up all of the solder on the points. Alright, and so there's a few different techniques you can use. So you can do the raking motion like that. Especially with this flat tip that I use, it's really good. You should clean often. It's really good for pressing against the board, the actual PCB, and the end of the pin. And what that'll do is heat up the solder underneath it, heat up the pin, and the heat, actually, it's interesting, solder sucks up and around heat. So, by pressing against the base of the component, not on the top, but the base, it will automatically surround that pin with solder, and all of those connections should be good. If you're ever concerned that there's solder connecting, just do a little bit of a raking motion, and you should be good. You can also get on the pin and rake out. That's it. That's what you got. So typically your workflow looks like turning the iron on, cleaning it off, adding tip tinner, adding flux to the component that you want to solder, and then you want to start applying heat to the point that you want to solder, and then rinse and repeat. Clean off the tip again, new tip tinner, and continue doing that. Should be pretty straightforward. You would be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't, at how often soldering iron tip doesn't get cleaned off properly or gets over cleaned, and so whenever you have it turned off, there's no solder to protect the tip, so it rusts, or there's so much solder that just keeps piling on, and it doesn't get cleaned, where old solder, if it's not cleaned off, will block heat. It'll block heat from transferring through the tip. And that'll destroy the tip as well. So, make sure you clean it off. That'd be great, okay? Make sure you clean it off, and whenever you turn it off, here we go, look at this. Check this out. We're going to turn it off. So what we're going to do is put some solder on it. Right there, tip tinner, boom, put some solder. Protect the tip. And here we go, boom, we'll go right back in there, and we would turn it off and go about our business. Wonderful. That's really it, the basics of soldering. So now what we're going to do is look at tearing down the PS4 and how we prepare to do the repair. Alright, any questions? Ask someone else. Thank you, bye.